live, they could eat whatever they grew and stuff like that. But then it was at the beginning of the revolts and stuff. They came over in 1907, and that was just the very beginning, because I know Pam says it isn't that time, but I looked it up and it said that it started in 1907, but it didn't come full blown for another 10 years or something like that. But Grandpa said the reason they came over here, they were going around and taking the German boys in the middle of the night from their homes and put them in the army or whatever, you know. So that's when he and Grandma decided to come over. And I mean, it was horrible. They were, I don't know what their ages were, but they were young. They had, my Uncle Heine was born there in Russia. And then they had another baby, Pete, that I guess, I don't know if Grandma had the baby on the way over or at Ellis Island, but that's the baby that got sick. And so she was quarantined, had to stay in Ellis Island. Grandpa went and worked in New York. And then I guess after Pete died, which was too bad, you know, then they came out to California. And my mother was born in 1909. So all that stuff, I mean, that was a hard life that I would not want to have done that. A young couple, not just going to another state or something, but they came to a whole new country where they didn't even speak the same language. And so I remember when Grandma was in the hospital, I was talking to her, trying to ask some questions, you know, and she started crying, and she said, yes, I had a very hard life. I mean, she had a lot of children, more of them, like that one died on Ellis Island, and then a girl died that was between, I guess, Elsie and Lorene. There was another one, I can't remember what her name was, but she was about 4 years old when she died. It wasn't just a baby. But, yeah, they had, and I mean, when I told Mother, I said, well, your mother did, you know, say you had a really hard life, and she cried, and she said, what did you say to her? My mother's strong, she wouldn't cry. But I mean, I didn't consider that a weakness. I considered it being able to express your feelings, you know, that she, when she was telling us about it, and it would be a hard life, and that was something, see, she was probably the one I knew the least of the grandparents. Both the grandfathers were really nice and sweet and stuff, and Grandma Judd would talk to you and listen to you. Grandma Bob, who was the one that, you know, had the hard life, and I don't know, Grandma Judd may have too, but she talked to us. And Grandma Bob never talked to us except go outside or set the table or it's time to go to bed. I mean, she gave orders, and that's kind of like my mother was too. Mother never really was into sitting down and having conversation or playing with you or something like that. So, I mean, that kind of made me feel, well, that's probably why she didn't have time to talk to kids. She just had a really hard life. But Grandma Judd always talked to us. I mean, she was a lot softer than Grandma Bob. Grandma Bob always seemed very hard, and she was always in charge, you know, telling Grandpa what to do. But I know on Thanksgiving when we went out there, she would have already made homemade noodles, simmered. I got all the juice from the turkey and simmered those noodles. It always started with noodle soup, which was kind of my favorite thing. It was delicious. And she had the big turkey, and then the other kids brought like a pie or, you know, something. But she had the main part of the meal, and that was after she had been through all that life. Who knows how old she was then, but I thought she was old. She might have been in her 50s or 60s, you know. But to a child, it's a grown-up, especially a grandparent that's older than a parent, you know. But she always had a spot. I remember her, she was either cleaning or, and when they lived out in the country, she would take a wet broom or throw buckets of water on the ground around there and sweep the ground to keep it clean so the dirt wouldn't come in the house. You know, the Germans are always clean. She was always, and my mother was like that, cleaning. My mother had never had really time to talk. She did with Johnny when Johnny came. But I can remember coming home from school and having a picture that I'd made, and I'd be so proud of it, you know, and wanting to show her. And she'd be at the sink doing something. You just see her back moving all the time, and I'd say, this is a picture I made. I don't have time to look at your pictures. I mean, yeah, it was for little kids, that's a bad thing. That's why, Mike, I always feel like I took time with you. Didn't want to, and most of the things that I remember that hurt me so bad, I definitely didn't want to do to you, like ever make you feel belittled or that you weren't good enough or what's wrong. Mother used to say, what's wrong with you? Can't you do anything right? Well, that's really a bad thing to say to a kid, especially from someone you respect. God, I can't do anything right. You know, I don't know what's wrong with me. That's the end, yeah.
We'll have to leave it there.
What a note. I never found out.